Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So today's message is one that I hope inspires you to refine some paradigms that you carry within yourself as you navigate life that will bring you more peace, that are centered around your well-being, centered on making sure that in our efforts to move forward after narcissistic entanglements with toxic people, bad experiences with others, being controlled, anything like that, it's my hope that we can, as we continue to learn, that we're not going to carry all of that with us, which is sort of like my last message, right? But specifically, I think it'll be easier to not carry so much of this with us when we intentionally construct paradigms that become what we operate from consciously. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to conditioning that happens when somebody's truly trying to manipulate our mind, or like conditioning in our families, if there were toxic qualities or aspects of the environment we grew up in, or whatever it is that may have affected us unconsciously on an unconscious level, that formed paradigms that we're not even aware of, where we actually engage with the world via unconscious behaviors that work against us. What we're trying to do is to become as conscious as we can of all of that, of our conditioning, right? And work through that. But we can also just go ahead and start scripting new paradigms as well, new belief structures, right? Through taking in what feels right to us. And so that's the spirit of the message today. I hope that it's beneficial to you. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that you're doing well. So let's go ahead and dive in. I want to start by, and a lot of our message today is going to be focused on the concept of envy and jealousy. All right. And as we're talking through this, we're going to be examining some different things that maybe you had experienced with regards to your perceptions of when you were able to identify narcissistic traits in someone. You felt like you were being controlled or manipulated in some way. You knew that you were being lied to, whatever it is. When you think about the concepts of envy and jealousy, we're going to kind of explore that a little bit today, okay? And the relationship with those terms and the dynamic, the entanglement that you had with someone, okay, or with a group of people. Ultimately, what we want to do is not to accumulate any kind of toxic paradigms, again, like adding to our own unconscious paradigms and conditioning, because we're not going through a practice like what we're doing today. This is why I feel like it's really important to do this kind of stuff, like what we're going to do today. And so hopefully if we go ahead and put and discover and truly understand truths that are healthy and good, and like I said, they're true, they're real and right, as long as we can work to identify those, focusing on good things and planting those seeds in our mind and in our heart, the hope is that it will prevent us from accumulating more toxic paradigms in our unconsciousness, right? Just adding to everything that we went through as we're trying to learn and process, okay? Because I think that can happen. I truly think that can happen. And it can happen, it can look like just coming out of a bad situation where you're very bitter and resentful, or you just feel like you can't trust literally anybody. You know, you just have this horrible view of all of humanity, those kind of things. You see what I'm saying? But you may not even see that in yourself, but other people can see it. So it's like we're trying to prevent that from resulting from learning about essentially evil, learning about lies and liars and how they operate, the darkness, you know. I'm making sure it doesn't totally consume us, right? Even unconsciously. So through the lens of envy and jealousy. So we know it's true that jealous people try to break our confidence for a selfish boost sometimes, just simply for that, right? Just to feel good about it, right? But I feel like, and we're going to talk about it, sometimes what we perceive as envy or jealousy may actually be something different, all right? In other words, there may be something else going on in the background that we haven't really put together yet. You know, we haven't connected those dots yet, or put those puzzle pieces together yet, okay? So when you're looking at the definition of envy, it means a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck, right? But what's interesting is when you look at the roots of envy, you have in, which means upon. And then you have videre, videre, which means to see or to look at. So you could, it's so interesting to look at the root parts of a word and see that envy is right there in alignment with focusing on a person, looking at someone, right? So I feel like this is why often the ones who pay the closest attention to us, and I've mentioned this before, we can mistake that as them caring, like, man, this person, you know, it wants to know so much about me. They're paying so much attention to me. It feels validating, especially if you didn't have that growing up. All this stuff, you know, we misread it as a good thing, as a good quality, like they really care about us, when in fact they're actually jealous. They're envious, right? So now we're seeing how even the word envy is made up from root derivatives that mean to look at, right? And I feel like it's intended to be like intensely, you know, to look upon. Yes, so it's really important for us to recognize. Let's take a look at James chapter 3, verse 16. It says, "For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder in every vile practice." So this is a motivating factor for people to operate in the darkness, right? And I feel like it goes back to the two mindsets that we've talked about before, either a mindset of lack or a mindset of fulfillment, you know, contentment. And over here, when you're considering lack, it's like that's in alignment with fear, right? Like fear that there's not enough to go around, like there's limited resources out there somehow. And then over here you have fulfillment, which is in alignment with faith, which would tell a person there's enough. There is enough to go around for everyone, right? So after sitting with the concept of how some people seem to steal your identity, like, you know, by taking so many aspects of your personality, I bet you can identify with this if you've come out of a toxic situation where you identify tons of narcissistic traits in a person. It's like, and I can say this from experience, a lot of the qualities in you, things that you liked, like it could be, you know, a style of art or fashion, just your perspectives, your hobbies, all these different, very specific attributes of your character, your personality, your preferences. A lot of times these narcissistic type individuals will put those aspects of you down or mock them, or just kind of, you know, make you feel inferior for them, and make it very obvious, either vocally or body language or both, or all these different ways they can make it obvious that these particular qualities are like disgusting to them or embarrassing to them. And so you wind up just feeling so, you know, awful. And then what's ironic is a lot of times when you get out of this entanglement, you're like, this person literally just tried to become me. And in fact, they adopted the very things that they put down about you. So it's really an interesting, when you're able to detach emotionally because you've gone through healing and you've gotten to a secure place where you can understand this truly is some type of severe mental disorder, something's going on. When you can get to that place where you're not attached or affected emotionally anymore, you can observe, right? And and just be a spectator to this whole, like, what happens. And it's incredible to see those very things they put down about aspects of you they have now adopted as the new them. So it's just it's really something. But it's like after you sit with this concept, right, of how they seem to steal your identity through these aspects of your personality, it's like, I think it's important to take things deeper. You know, are they really envious because they desire those qualities? Okay, because if that was the case, then I feel like their mask would not have been formed with these qualities at your exit. If they truly thought these qualities about you were great, were good enough to adopt, they would have done it while they were engaged with you. Like, hey, I think I've never done this before, this hobby, whatever it is that you're doing, you know, I'd like to go with you sometime and learn about it. In other words, they wouldn't hide it. They wouldn't do things in hiding. They wouldn't hide how they feel about it by putting it down in front of you and then turning around and adopting these aspects. It's contradictory. There's something hidden. There's a hidden motive there. So you have to question, like, and I think it's possible that they could be jealous or envious of certain qualities of you, but I want to take it deeper, okay? So I think that the other alternative is not that they really even like or dislike these qualities about us, so much as they're indifferent and they're just adopting these qualities now at your exit, or at their exit, whenever this entanglement stopped, right? Or dissolved. At this point, when you see a change in this person and they're adopting all these aspects of you, and it just feels creepy as all get out to watch them try and mimic you, I feel like they're simply using these qualities as their new mask, or adding to an existing mask. It's just a mask that's ever changing and growing and forming, and they've just mimicked these qualities. And so it's my perception that with some people, they truly are or have been jealous and envious, but in others, they really didn't care. It's just something to copy, to mimic, to try and construct this mask to fit in, right? Because you never realized that you were fitting in with society. You were just doing your thing. But they are living a hidden life. So they have to cover that up and hide it. And so they're doing that with this mask, and they're just always looking for, like, how can I fit in with my community? And so I don't think that it's always associated with envy and jealousy. So that was a realization for me, and I just thought I would share that with you. And you know, another aspect is I think it helps to remember that what if we all have the ability to create? Okay, because one way to look at it, and I've talked about this before, is some people can't create because they don't have that divine spark or light inside of them, which is the ultimate source of creation, right? Or another way to look at it is they can create. Every one of us can create, right? But these deceptive people that fake everyone off, they can create, but they just don't want others to see the life they've actually created. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a life that essentially defines the truth about them, that they are in fact a liar, that they are in fact a thief, an adulterer, a predator. So it's like, that's the life they created, but they just don't want anyone to know about it. So in their attempts to construct this false life as the front, right, or the facade of their existence, it makes them sometimes appear to be very empty, or to lead a very empty life, but they're just staying quiet and seem like they're a very empty person to you, because they can't tell you, you know, what's really going on. You see what I'm saying? Because it's hidden. This is, again, all part of my processing, and I just want to share it with you all. So all right, So my notes say, brings up another point. Is their life really empty, or is it just filled with sinful things, which we just talked about, right? Now, so if you consider those two possibilities, is it empty or is it filled with just sinful things? My proposal is maybe it's both. Maybe it's actually both, okay? Proverbs chapter 14, verse 30 says, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. Okay, so envy, perceived through the lens of one approaching life from a lack mindset, feeling empty, makes your bones rot. In other words, it's a spirit that makes someone destroy themselves when they're truly approaching life in a jealous manner, in an envious manner. Okay, they're essentially going to destroy themselves with that spirit. Okay, now even if they are content with their way of life and they don't envy anything about you or other honest people, excuse me, we have this verse, or these verses. This is Mark chapter 7, verses 20 through 23. It says, and he said, what comes out of a person is what defiles him, for from within, I can't read my writing again. Oh my goodness. Okay, for from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. So I looked up the term defile, which means to spoil, rather. I got my southern accent going on here. To mar, desecrate. All right, the Old English word here is fulian, F-U-L-I-A-N, which means to rot. So here we have proof, all right? We see that it's not just envy that results in one being subjected to the karmic spirit of decay or rot, but any one of the sins that we just read about in Mark chapter 7. Any one of those sins, right? So again, if someone is empty and they're approaching life through the mindset of lack, and they're very jealous and envious, they're going to make their own bones rot. They're going to destroy, self-destruct because of this envious spirit. So it doesn't matter if a person really, if we're trying to figure out, like why a person copied us and mimicked all of our qualities, once we left this relationship or entanglement, right? Engagement, whatever it was. When we see this and then we're trying to figure it out, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter that we figure it out. And so, and I know that wanting to figure everything out is part of the healing process, but in exploring, what we find is it's destructive regardless. It's destructive whether they're approaching what they're doing from this envious spirit, or if they don't envy you, right? Maybe they truly do look down on you and they're not jealous of any of your qualities, but they're just piecing together their mask with characteristics from you, right? Because they're still engaging in sin, okay? Deceit, wickedness, adultery, theft, pride, slander, all these things, okay? All these things also defile a person or to cause them to rot. So the result is the same. All right. All right. So in closing, I can say from my life experiences, some people are envious of you. I've actually had friends look directly at me and say, I want your life. And I did it like that on purpose, because that's exactly how it felt to me. Like, oh my God, it was chilling to the core. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've seen another friend react in a very scary manner at good news about my life. So people can truly be jealous, all right, and envious of you, but then some aren't, okay? Some are content with a double life, a hidden, sinful life, and just mimicking your qualities, right? To construct their mask that covers that secret life. So the biggest takeaway is that people are going to do what they're going to do. Essentially, they're going to do what they're going to do, right? They're going to script their own corrupted code of conduct, period. And we don't always have to figure it out. You know, once we can identify that it's toxic and not good for us to be a part of a situation or a relationship, that's really all that matters. Okay, so I just want to encourage you not to live in a spirit of resistance, because that puts us in a competitive position against reality. In other words, when I say that right there, here's what I mean. If we're perceiving a person's actions, like if they do use your qualities to construct their newest, latest mask, that may make you feel like you have to defend yourself and your qualities as, hey, what are you doing? That you're trying to be me. It can kind of put you into that mindset, see, and it's not intentional. We certainly don't go there on purpose, but you have to be able to catch that. You see what I'm saying? Catching it is going to save you a lot of heartache and a lot of stress and all this other stuff, okay? So, because when you're doing that, when you're perceiving them, that they're envious of you and copying you for that reason, it kind of can make you feel like you're just in that competitive spirit, okay? And really what that is, a competitive spirit, I view, is resisting reality. Just let it be. 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 So, because it's not going to produce peace. If we use peace as our main lifeometer, I'm going to throw out that term, it's going to really help, okay? Again, it's not only focusing on the good, but it's going to help us when we're navigating our research and trying to understand these kind of things deeper too, okay? So instead, I want to encourage you to rest in your originality. So let's take a look at that term, original, okay? And I feel like I said just a few minutes ago in closing, yeah, I'm not done, sorry. Apparently when I made my notes, I thought this is going to be the wrap up here. And well, it wasn't, so there's more. Okay, so let's take a look at the term original. So we have origo, O-R-I-G-O, or originum, which means the beginning, birth, or source. And then we have Ori, or Rai. I don't know how to say this. O-R-I-R-I, which means to rise, which I thought was beautiful. So I feel like this is great. We can be inspired by this and understand that our true, not our fake or false like others, our true creative spirit arose from source. That's really important to take to heart. We're going to talk about it. So consider this. There's a Bible verse, and I'm sorry I didn't look it up to tell you what it is, but I'm sure you can Google it. But it says, there are no new things under the sun. No new things. That's big. That's like an absolute type statement right there. So let's take that. Let's take that and look at it through the positive lens, okay? Because I feel like we're all original, you know, each one of us, unless we're, you know, copycatting other people to make up a mask, of course. But if we see God as the first and the lasting original, we can rest in that, okay? Because for me, it all comes down to how you perceive yourself. All right, first, if you perceive yourself as separate from source, from God, you're going to get entangled in all kinds of ego struggles, egoic drama, constantly. But if you perceive yourself as a spark of the divine creator, the divine fire, you'll rest in knowing that you cannot be destroyed. That spirit of rot, of decay, is not applicable to you. Okay? So, especially, okay, thinking about, you know, if we're a spark of that divine fire and we can rest in knowing that we cannot be destroyed, especially when we put ego to death through humble submission and repentance, okay? So ego's destiny, it's the ego's destiny to rot. The spirit's destiny is to live forever in its rightful inheritance as a part of the divine, a child of the divine. Okay, so we've been given everything we need. All right, so let me share this story with you all. And before I do, let me preface it by saying this. When we view ourselves this way, like what we're going to talk about, okay, the spirit inside the body, when we view ourselves this way, then we don't take things personally, okay? It's like we literally become the witness, the spectator, the observer, okay, to all the ego's adventures, you might say. There's a positive spin for you. Or someone who's deeply, deeply rooted in ego and is never going to let that go, then I wouldn't necessarily label that as their adventures, right? For us, we're trying to become conscious, right? We're trying to learn and grow and correct ourselves, self-correct. But what they're doing by holding on tight to their ego at the expense of everything good and right and true in the world, right? That's ego destruction. That's not an adventure for them. They might try to fool themselves that it's an adventure, but it's short-lived. Essentially, it's going to end in destruction, okay? So there was this, the story I want to share is, I'm not going to get super into details, but when I was younger, I went to the beach with some acquaintances, some girlfriends, right? Friends. Meaning, just some people I knew, essentially, okay? I was one of them was a friend, the others were her friends. So, but anyway, we were on the beach this day, and there was, I think it was around spring break time, and we were teenagers, I believe, at the time, and there was a group of other teenagers we didn't know just a little ways down the beach, and then there were these girls that were walking down the beach, and they stopped by this other group first and spoke to them, and they all just, you know, burst out in laughter, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the girls walked away, and I got the impression that they insulted them. You know, this group that was sitting here insulted the girls that were walking by, and they just laughed and all this. So then the girls came on down to us and stopped, and they wanted to talk about Jesus. And we sat down with them, and we listened to what they had to say, and we all prayed together. And I knew that when those people down there laughed at them and mocked them, they were really mocking God. That's how I view it. That's my lens. And so that's kind of a big deal, right? So let me leave you with this. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. That's Matthew chapter 5, verse 11. All right. And then let me share Jeremiah 29:11 with you. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you hope and a future." All right. So I just want to encourage you to plant this truth deeply in your heart until it becomes an instinctive reflex when challenged. Okay? What really matters? Does it really matter if people mock you or put you down or steal qualities of you, aspects of your personality to the point that it's chilling? Does it really matter? Okay, that's where we really need to dig in deep and determine, you know, what are our truths, okay? And, you know, of course, I always encourage you to think for yourself. I never want to assert any of my truths on you guys, on my viewers, as this should be your truths. I think that we should all find that for ourselves. But I do pull a lot from the Bible for myself and find that that is certainly a basis for my truths. So I just want to encourage you that there is more after these experiences. There is more. There is more to come. And there's only one you. Okay? And God knows the truth. God knows the truth about us all. I just want you to rest in that and to carry on, okay? Don't associate your originality with needing a defense. It doesn't need to be defended. I just encourage you to reject the spirit of competitiveness and defensiveness. If you are doing you, you'll live in peace. So let me share with you a book that I received as a gift, and I haven't read it yet, but the title is Originals: How Nonconformists Move the World. So in reading that title, the real threat is that we, meaning all of us who are genuine people trying to do good, honest people who don't lie and go about life trying to better ourselves and share what we learn with others, right? The real threat is that we might just change the world collectively by sharing what we know. So don't be silenced. Be encouraged, and know that life can be beautiful. And I just hope that you don't find yourself tangled up in any kind of stress or toxicity, because life can be beautiful. I hope that this message has gotten the wheels turning for you. I would encourage you to sit with it and journal some more. Hopefully there'll be some more things to pop up for you. And so thank you so much for coming along today to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.